She told you she wanted love. She told you she valued honesty. So you gave her everything, your trust, your time, your soul, thinking it would make her stay. But she didn't. She drifted away, not because you failed to love her, but because you gave her the one thing she never admitted she feared: certainty. The truth, the one most men never dare to face, is this: a woman is rarely pulled toward the man she can fully control. She is drawn to the man she wonders about, the man whose mind she can't read, the one who could destroy her world, but chooses not to. That man isn't a villain. He isn't cruel. He's something more ancient, something every story, every myth, every whispered fantasy has carried for centuries. He's the monster, not the fanged creature lurking in shadows, but the force of nature she can't tame, the man whose presence shakes her, whose absence burns her. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago when he wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He wasn't speaking about cruelty. He was speaking about power, about being felt before you are understood. Because she doesn't dream about the man who's always at her side, smiling, predictable, safe. She dreams about the man who makes her question, does he even need me? Or am I just lucky to be in his orbit? That subtle uncertainty, that living, breathing mystery, is what transforms interest into obsession. But here's where most men fall. They've been told their whole lives that love is about endless kindness, about selfless devotion, about giving every drop of themselves away without question. And for a time, that seems to work. The early days are intoxicating. She laughs more. She leans closer. She says, "You're different." But slowly, you start making her the center of your world. And the moment that happens, the scales begin to tip. The man she once had to earn is now fully hers. And in her ancient, instinctive mind, the chase is over. You stop being the mystery. You become the mirror. And every day she looks into you, she sees only herself reflected back. Understand this, her mind isn't cruel. It's ancient. For thousands of years, women had to choose men who could stand unshaken in the storm, men who could protect not just through affection, but through presence, through strength. That instinct still lives in her blood. She doesn't want the man who collapses when she's upset. She wants the one who can look into her chaos with steady eyes and say without words, "I can walk away if I must, but I'd rather walk with you." It's not arrogance, it's not playing games, it's something deeper. A gravitational pull she feels toward a man who will not bend just to keep her. When you became predictable, you became forgettable. And in the currency of attraction, forgettable is worse than unlikable. Think back. When did she lean in most? When she wondered what you were thinking, when she couldn't predict if you'd call, when you had your own plans, your own life, your own fire burning outside of her. That tension, the space between knowing you care but not owning you, is where desire grows. Most men run from that space. They try to fill it with constant texts, constant reassurance, constant proof that they're the good guy. But the monster, he understands that too much closeness too soon is the death of fire. So he gives her warmth, but not the whole sun. He lets her step toward him, but never loses his step toward his own mission. He disappears into his work, his passions, his world, not to punish her, but to remind her, "You don't own me. You can only choose to walk beside me." And that, right there, is the paradox. The more she feels she could lose you, the more she wants to keep you. So the question isn't, how do I make her love me? The question is, how do I become the man whose presence she respects too much to ever take for granted? Because once you understand what really fuels her deepest attraction, you'll stop giving her what you think she wants, and start being the man she never knew she needed. You thought being the good man would keep her. You thought loyalty, devotion, and always being there would be enough. But here's the cold truth. The moment she could predict your every move, the spark began to fade. She stopped leaning forward when you spoke. She stopped wondering what you might do next, because she already knew. And when there's no mystery, there's no fire. This is why Machiavelli's words echo through centuries. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But here, fear doesn't mean cruelty. It means respect. The kind of respect that comes from knowing you can't be swayed by every passing emotion. It means tension, not the kind that breaks bonds, but the kind that tightens them. It means presence, the energy of a man who walks into a room and doesn't ask to be noticed, but still is. When you became too easy, you gave away the most valuable currency in attraction: uncertainty. You replied instantly to her messages. You poured your heart out in long paragraphs before she even asked what was wrong. You shared every thought, every fear, every wound before she had a chance to earn it. And instead of feeling closer, she felt bored. Why? Because you gave her everything before she even reached for it. You were always available, so she never had to miss you. Remember the early days, when her stomach fluttered at the sound of your name on her phone, when she sat in bed, wondering if you were thinking about her, when she worked for your attention without even realizing it. Now, she sees your name, and it's just there, safe, predictable, background noise, and in the language of desire, predictable means forgettable. Here's the paradox. Desire doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in the spaces between. It grows in the moments she wonders. Does he still think about me? What's he doing right now? The monster knows this. He gives closeness, yes, but never the illusion of permanence. He disappears into his purpose, not as a punishment, not as a game, but as a truth. He has his own life. And when she sees that life moving forward without her at the center, she feels the pull. Because here's something her instincts understand, even if her words don't. The man who needs her to feel whole can't protect her when life gets hard. But the man who is whole without her can protect her from anything. That's why she tests you. When she goes quiet for no reason. When she flirts in front of you just to watch your reaction. When she brings up another man's name, casually, mid-conversation. She's not always trying to hurt you. She's asking a question her biology has been asking for thousands of years. Can this man hold his ground when the storm hits? Most men fail without even knowing it's a test. They explode in jealousy, or they panic and try harder, smothering her with reassurances, or they crumble into apologies they never needed to make. And in that moment, she feels it. He's not unshakable, and once she feels that, something shifts deep inside her. She stops leaning into you. She starts leaning away. The monster passes every test the same way, with stillness. He doesn't fight for dominance. He doesn't collapse into pleading. He lets her see that her storms cannot move him. When she pulls away, he doesn't chase. When she provokes him, he doesn't bite the hook. When she tests his frame, he holds it without effort. Because strength isn't shown in how loudly you shout. It's shown in how quietly you stand. This is the truth no one told you about attraction. It isn't about always being close. It's about knowing when to be close and when to step back. That step back isn't rejection. It's oxygen. The oxygen that lets the fire breathe. And once she feels that you can hold that space without panic, she begins to feel something she can't explain. Safety, not safety from danger. Safety from losing respect for you. If you want her to stay obsessed, you must become the man she knows she cannot break. The man she can lean on without wondering if he'll collapse under her weight. And when you do, the same woman who tested you will surrender to you, not out of fear, but out of trust. She says she wants the good man, the man who listens, the man who always texts back, the man who puts her first, and maybe she even believes it. But watch closely. The moment you become that man, the one who's endlessly available, endlessly reassuring, something inside her begins to cool. The texts get shorter. Her voice loses its spark. The woman who once couldn't get enough of you suddenly needs space. It's not because she's lying about what she wants. It's because what she says she wants isn't always what her biology is drawn to. Her attraction isn't built on logic. It's wired into instincts that have been evolving for thousands of years. There was a time when choosing the wrong man didn't just mean heartbreak, it meant danger. It meant starvation. It meant leaving her children unprotected in a world where strength was survival. And because of that, nature hardwired her to seek out something more than kindness. She doesn't just want a man who loves her. She wants a man who can protect, provide, and lead, even when she pushes him. She wants a man who can be close without being consumed, a man who can love her without making her the center of his identity. Because here's the paradox that runs through her blood. She will only feel safe with a man she cannot shake. Machiavelli's words echo here again. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. This fear isn't about harm, it's about respect. The deep respect that comes from knowing a man won't change his nature just to please her. Because if he changes for her mood, she knows he'll fall apart when life gets hard. That's why she sometimes feels a pull toward men she swears she hates. The ex who never explained himself. The man who didn't chase when she pulled away. The one who stayed steady while she tested every boundary. She might complain about him to her friends. She might swear she'd never go back. But her body remembers him. Because her instincts remember him. Not for his perfection, not for his gentleness, but for his strength. You see, she's not searching for a man she can fix. She's searching for a man she can follow. And here's the truth most men never hear. When you start needing her approval more than you need your own self-respect, she stops feeling that pull. Because neediness isn't love, it's weakness. And in her unconscious mind, weakness is dangerous. This is why so many modern relationships fail in silence. A man starts strong, focused, and independent. She feels the magnetism instantly. She leans in, she invests, she desires. But over time, he trades his mission for her attention. He stops building, he stops leading. He starts orbiting around her instead of standing in his own world. And she feels it. The slow, invisible collapse of the man she once admired. Here's the hardest truth. She will not respect you for giving up your edge to keep her. She might thank you in words. She might say she appreciates how devoted you are, but deep inside, her desire is dying. Because she didn't choose you for devotion alone. She chose you because you were complete without her. Think back to who you were before you met her, the goals you had, the energy you carried, the fire in your chest that made her notice you in the first place. That's the man she's secretly still looking for, even if she's standing in front of you right now. This is why the monster never collapses into her approval. He can love her without losing himself. He can hold her without clinging. He can give her warmth without letting her control the flame. And that balance, that tension between closeness and independence, is what her instincts are begging for. The man she truly desires isn't the one who needs her. It's the one who chooses her from a place of strength. Because when you can walk away, you're the only man she wants to walk toward. There was a time you had quiet power. Not power over others, but power over yourself. Before the world told you to soften every edge, before they trained you to explain every feeling, before you learned to measure your worth by how much you pleased others. Back then, you were different. You had a certain sharpness in you, a fire that burned without apology. When you walked into a room, people felt it before you spoke. It wasn't arrogance, it wasn't hostility, it was the energy of a man who knew who he was. She noticed it too. Not with her conscious mind, but with the instincts she was born with, and that's when she leaned in. But somewhere along the way, you traded that strength for comfort. You traded that fire for approval, and you didn't even realize it was happening. You thought you were becoming a better man, more caring, more open, more available, but in the process, you lost the very qualities that made you magnetic in the first place. The man she obsesses over, the man we're calling the monster, isn't cruel. He doesn't play games. He simply possesses 3 traits most modern men have lost. And when you get them back, you don't need to chase women. They feel drawn to you. Trait 1, a bigger purpose than her. This is the foundation. The monster does not make a woman his mission. She can join his mission. She can walk beside him. But she is not the reason he walks. When your life is built entirely around her, you create an unspoken pressure. Every look, every word, every moment becomes about keeping her happy, and she feels it. At first it might seem romantic, but over time it becomes suffocating. A man without a mission becomes lost in hers, and no matter how much she loves you, she cannot respect a man who has abandoned himself. Machiavelli once wrote, "The intelligence of a ruler is seen in the people around him." Look at your own world. Are you surrounded by growth, or are you drowning in distractions? The monster is not defined by his relationship. He's defined by his path, and that's why she follows him. Trait 2, the power to say no without guilt. Most men fear conflict with the woman they love. They'll agree just to keep the peace. They'll apologize for things they didn't do wrong. They'll bite their tongue to avoid making her upset. The monster doesn't operate like that. He doesn't need to shout. He doesn't need to dominate. He simply has a clear internal line between what he will accept and what he won't. When she tests him, and she will, he doesn't argue. He doesn't launch into long explanations. He doesn't get emotional. He simply steps back and lets his boundaries speak for themselves. Because when a man says no calmly and firmly, without fear, she feels something primal. She feels that she can't own him. And paradoxically, that's what makes her want to stay close. Trait 3. Emotional mystery. Modern culture has convinced men to open up completely as soon as possible. And while vulnerability has its place, there's a dangerous misunderstanding here. Dumping your every thought, fear, and insecurity onto her is not intimacy. It's self-abandonment. She might say she wants to know everything about you, but once everything is revealed, there's nothing left to discover. The monster understands this. He doesn't hide. He reveals selectively. He shares enough for her to feel connected, but never so much that she stops wondering. Because the gap between who you are now and who you're becoming is where desire lives. These 3 traits aren't tricks. They're not manipulations. They are the signs of a man who values himself. And when you live with that value, you don't need to perform power. You simply are power. Now that you know what you've lost, the next question is, how do you take it back? Because without these traits, you'll keep repeating the same patterns, giving too much, chasing too hard, and wondering why the spark dies. You gave her everything, your time, your attention, your heart. You were always ready to talk, ready to listen, ready to drop everything if she called. And deep down, you believed that this total availability would make her feel safe, loved, certain, but it didn't. Instead of pulling her closer, it pushed her away. In the unspoken rules of desire, the one who needs more always loses power. When your love starts to feel like begging, she stops seeing you as strong. She didn't walk away because you were too loving. She walked away because your love came from need, not from strength. Machiavelli's truth hits hard here. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. In the context of love, that means it's better to be respected for your strength than adored because you're too weak to stand without her. Here's the contradiction that destroys so many men. A woman wants to feel chosen, but she can't desire something that already feels owned. You made her the center of your world. You replied within seconds. You canceled your own plans to see her. You offered constant attention like it was proof of your worth. And in doing so, you erased the very tension that kept her desire alive. Desire doesn't live in constant reassurance. It lives in mystery. In the subtle uncertainty of wondering, does he still think about me when he's gone? The more you gave, the less she felt. She doesn't want a man who worships her, like a goddess he must keep happy at all costs. She wants a man who can love her deeply, yet still love himself more. Because here's the thing, if you can't stand without her, she can't lean on you when she needs it most. This is why she creates drama. This is why she tests you. This is why she pushes emotional buttons you didn't even know you had. It's not always because she's cruel, it's because she needs to know. Will this man break if I push him? Will he crumble if I pull away? Most men fail the moment the pressure comes. They beg, they over-explain, they double their effort to prove they care, and that's when she knows, often without words, that he can't hold the frame. And once she knows that, the power shifts. The man she stays obsessed with plays a different game entirely. He stays calm when she's emotional. He listens, but doesn't bend his entire identity to soothe her storm. He shows care without showing desperation. He can walk away if he must, and she feels that. And that kind of love, the kind that doesn't need her but still chooses her, is rare. That rarity is intoxicating. You thought safety alone would keep her, but safety without strength feels like weakness. She wants to feel wanted, not owned, desired, not depended on. You weren't too loving, you were too available. And here's the truth most men never face. When you stop chasing and start leading, you don't just keep her attention, you keep her respect, because the man who doesn't chase becomes the fire. He stands still, letting her move closer when she feels the heat. He doesn't ask, "Do you still love me?" He knows his value, whether she stays or leaves. His life doesn't revolve around convincing her to choose him. It revolves around his mission, his growth, his direction. And that's why she chooses him. She doesn't desire him because he's cold or unkind. She desires him because he's strong, because he's mysterious, because his love must be earned. And the truth is, the more she feels she's earning it, the more she values it. The man who texts constantly, who replies instantly, who lays all his love on the table without requiring anything in return, slowly disappears from her mind. Not because he's bad, but because there's nothing left to wonder about. But the man who holds back just enough, who stays centered and calm while pursuing his path, he becomes the addiction she doesn't understand. Most men are taught that when a woman pulls away, you must chase to prove your worth. You're told to fight for her, to win her back, to show her how much she means to you. But in the silent language of attraction, chasing doesn't pull her closer. It drives her further away. The man she secretly obsesses over doesn't run after her approval. He becomes the flame, the still, steady fire that she moves toward, not because he demands it, but because she feels it. This man doesn't ask, "Do you still love me?" He knows his value whether she stays or goes. He knows that her choice doesn't define his worth. He doesn't crumble when she's distant. He doesn't send long messages begging to clear the air. He doesn't adjust his entire life to match her moods. Why? Because his identity isn't built around her. He has a world outside of her, a mission, a direction, a life that moves forward whether she is in it or not. And that's exactly what makes her want to stay in it. She doesn't feel trapped. She feels drawn. Because the man who is whole without her becomes the only man she feels safe giving herself to completely. The irony is this: she doesn't desire him because he's withholding or mean. She desires him because he chooses her from a place of strength, not from fear of losing her. Every time he gives her space, every time he lets silence breathe between them instead of filling it with nervous chatter, every time he stays focused on his path instead of chasing her moods, her mind begins to turn, her curiosity awakens, her desire sharpens. And here's the piece most men miss: the love she values most is the love she has to earn. It's not about playing games or withholding affection to manipulate her. It's about living in such a way that your love is a reflection of your standards, not your desperation. The man who texts constantly, who responds within seconds, who gives all of himself without requiring her to show up fully, he becomes an open book. And open books are easy to close, but the man who lives with self-control, who offers his love like a rare and precious thing, becomes the chapter she can't stop turning. She stays up at night thinking about him, not because he's cold, but because there's always more to discover. That's why the man who doesn't chase becomes the only man she can't stop chasing, because he's not running away, he's walking forward. And if she wants to be beside him, she has to keep up. This isn't arrogance, it's not ego, it's self-respect. When you stop building your life around her approval, you free her to be drawn to you naturally, without the pressure of constant convincing. And here's the part most men never understand until it's too late. If she feels you're always available, she never has the chance to miss you. If she never misses you, she never truly values you. The monster understands this balance. He can love deeply, but he never loves in a way that empties him. He can be close, but never at the cost of losing himself. He is present when he chooses to be, and absent when he needs to be. And that rhythm, that dance of presence and absence, is what makes her desire him long after other men fade from her memory. So the goal isn't to play hard to get. The goal is to be hard to replace. And the way you do that is simple. Live in such a way that your value is obvious, even in silence. If you've been listening closely, you already feel it. The man you were before the world softened you. The one who walked into rooms with quiet certainty. The one who didn't need approval to stand tall. The one who she once noticed without you even trying. He's still there. You didn't lose her because you weren't good enough. You lost her because you forgot who you were. You buried that man under layers of guilt, under fear, under lies you were taught about what love is supposed to look like. You were told to always be sweet, to always agree, to always make her your center. And slowly, piece by piece, you gave away the edge that made her choose you in the first place. Now you have a choice. You can go back to being safe, back to being predictable, back to hoping she sees your worth, instead of living like a man who already knows it. Or you can rise. Becoming the monster isn't about becoming cruel. It's not about playing games or withholding love to punish her. It's about rebuilding your edge brick by brick. The same edge that makes her feel she can't shake you. It's about returning to the version of yourself who doesn't just survive without her, but thrives. It means having a purpose that is bigger than her. It means protecting your boundaries without guilt. It means carrying an emotional mystery that invites her to keep discovering you. It means loving her from a position of choice, not dependence. Because when you love from strength, you give her something she can respect, not just something she can consume. This transformation will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you the illusion of safety. It will force you to unlearn every habit that's been making you predictable. It will test you. You will have moments where you feel like chasing, like explaining, like breaking your own frame just to pull her closer for one more day. But every time you hold the line, you reclaim another piece of your power. And when that power returns, something shifts. The same woman who once tested you will trust you. The same woman who once doubted you will feel safe enough to surrender to you. And the women you meet in the future will feel the difference in your presence without you saying a single word. This is not about controlling her. It's about controlling yourself. Because the man who can control himself can lead, protect, and inspire. And that's the man her instincts are wired to follow. Look in the mirror. The monster is not some new identity you need to create. He's already in you. He's the part of you that speaks less but means more. The part of you that walks away when respect is gone. The part of you that loves without losing himself. You just have to strip away the layers that buried him. Stop apologizing for your standards. Stop explaining your every move. Stop putting her moods above your mission. And watch how your energy changes, how she changes around you when you begin living for something bigger than her. This is the time for strong minds, clear purpose, and unshakable presence. The war for your power has already begun. And the monster, your monster, is yours now. Use him. If this woke something inside you, if it reminded you of the man you were before you started chasing instead of leading, then don't let this just be a moment of inspiration. Let it be the beginning of your return. Because the man who lives from strength doesn't have to demand love. He attracts it. He keeps it, and he commands the kind of respect that never fades. The choice is yours. Stay safe or step back into the fire.